Greetings, my freaks and geeks. Welcome to the Score Roundtable podcast. Guys, tonight we have the distinct pleasure of speaking with a literal living legend, guys. Please welcome musician and founding member of the amazing rock band Aerosmith. Please welcome Mr. Ray Tabano.
All right.
Give it up, guys.
Round of applause. Okay, guys. All right, fellas. Thanks for having me on. I never say no when it comes to talking about what's going on, how it happened, and what was going on, because I got to tell you something. I'm a very blessed individual. When you think about it, that in the history of mankind, for me to be born at that time and for me to wind up bumping into Steven Tyler and to Joe Perry and those guys and winding up where we wound up together, this is like miraculous the way the whole thing happened. Like, I got to tell you, man. Yeah, I'm just saying. I was like born in the Bronx, and I was brought up in the Bronx, New York. I never knew my father, and I never knew the guy. I seen him around a couple of times, but I never had that father guy in my life. So I was like running around the whole time. My mother remarried. We moved up here to Yonkers. And I'm used to sidewalks and concrete and buildings. All of a sudden I'm up here in Yonkers, down the block, and there's a lake with trees and deers and shit running around all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So I go down there one day. And I can't see the lake. So I climb up a tree and I'm looking at the lake and I'm feeling like, oh man, I'm nature boy over here. I'm in touch with Mother Nature. All of a sudden I hear, hey, you up there. And I look down and there's this guy down there with big lips. He goes, I said, what? He goes, that's my tree. That's how I met Steven Tyler.
That's crazy.
I was in his tree, man. And I think I spit on him or something. I'm not sure. I can't, because it was so long. I was like, I bumped into him. And we lived around a block from each other. I lived on Mountain View, I lived on Pembroke. We lived around a block from each other. And I bumped into him another time on the street with somebody else. And the first time we met, we went at each other a little bit, but then we became friends. And we shared a lot of the same kind of stuff. We both like the outdoors. We like to hunt and trap and fish and stuff. And then this is like about 1963, 1964. You guys probably, your daddies might not have been born then, but
That's right around that time.
I'm not sure, man.
Exactly.
But then the whole British invasion thing happened. The bands came over from England, and we got caught up in that whole thing, man. That's how the whole thing started. As a matter of fact, I do a show, and you can go on my website. It's crazyraymond.net. Okay. Crazyraymond.net. You can go on my website, and you can look up the whole British invasion show. And what the show is about, it's about the music that influenced us, that made us want to get out there and rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? It's those bands, when they came over, we were already listening to doo-wop stuff, and Chuck Berry was around at the time, Little Richard was around, guys like that. But the whole British invasion thing with the music that really touched us a little more, it wasn't, when it first came around, we got swept up in it. Okay, we're gonna go. So I do a whole show now, and it's all about the music that drove us to do that kind of stuff, man. So you go on my website, look it up, crazyraymond.net. It's all in there.
Fantastic.
So happened. We kind of all of a sudden, and let me tell you something. Back when I was in junior high school, there were like three classes of people, man. There were like the jocks, the guys who did the sports and stuff, and then there were the freaks, the guys like with the long hair and stuff, and then there were like the greaser guys, the tough guys. I'm saying, actually, there was another one too, because they were like the nerdy guys, that studied and stuff, But I was like one of these tough guys, what I'm saying? And I had my hair a little slicked back and stuff. But then when the British invasion came, I went the other way. I became like one of the freaky guys with the long hair. My hair started going forward now and down instead of back. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, it's a funny story, because when I was in junior high school, we moved up from the Bronx, and the kids up in Yonkers, they were like softer. I'm saying, they weren't as tough as the kids in the Bronx. Kids in the Bronx were tough, man. Okay, I was brought up in the neighborhoods, and it was mostly Italians and Jews, and then there was a few Puerto Ricans and a few blacks, but it was mostly Italians and Jews. You know what I'm saying? The neighborhood that I was brought up in, and it was a lot of street stuff. Like I said, I was never home. I was out in the street all the time. So I come up to Yonkers, and the kids are a little softer up here. So I was like a tough guy. But then when I became, the music kind of softened me up, and I went the other way. But the first band I was ever in, there was these guys that called me up and they said, hey, Ray, listen, we have a band. We want you to join the band. I said, but I really don't play. We don't have. They go, yeah, but we want you to come in the band. So, because if you're in the band, people to stop beating us up all the time because they were like, so I joined the band, so people wouldn't beat these guys up. And this guy, Al, gave me a bass guitar. I think I was like 15 years old. He gave me basically, I taught myself how to play a little bit. And then, and that's how I got my first band. Now, Stephen's father, Victor Tallarico, God rest his loving soul, man. Stephen's father was he was the head musical instructor at Cardinal Spellman High School. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So his whole family, Stephen's whole family, it comes from a whole family of musicians. His uncle was also a virtuoso, but his father was like crazy good. He was like mad good. It was like just, the guy was unbelievable. But also his relatives, I think his uncles and stuff, and before as far as his grandfather, they had a band called the Traveling Tallaricos. Because that's his real name. His real name is Stephen Tyler's real name is Stephen Tallarico.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he has a lot of music. There's a lot of music in his family. So naturally, like the band that he got into, okay, the kids, they could read music and they played all the Beatles stuff and zombies and all harmony stuff. Me and my guys, man, we're doing like the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, them, the Who, we're doing all 3-chord stuff, and we're screaming. You know what I'm saying? They were more sophisticated. You know what I'm saying? So we had these two different dichotomies going on back then in high school, man. And so what happened was that as we got older and the parents started telling the kids, you probably hear this from your parents too, you ain't gonna be no rock and roll band, buddy. You're going to school, you're getting a job, you're getting an education. So what happened was the group of guys got winnowed down. You know what I'm saying? There's less and less people because everybody had to go to school, we had to go to get jobs and stuff like that. So it wound up with just like me and Stephen. And there's other guy Don, and there's one guy Twitty from the Boston area, because Stephen's parents, Stephen's father and Stephen's brother, Stephen's uncle, his father's brother, they had a place in New Hampshire called Trowrico. And what it was like a place where you'd go in the summer, you'd rent a cabin. And they had a big house. So you go up there, you rent a cabin, I think they had about 5 or 8 cabins or something. You'd rent a cabin, and in the morning you go over to the main house and have breakfast. And, it was up in the woods. It was in the middle of Lake Sunapee. So Stephen knew a couple of people from up there. That's where he met Joe Perry. Because Joe Perry's parents also had a place up there. That's where that connection was. But this guy Dwight was in the band. So it was me and Stephen and this guy Don, who was one of those guys that read music and played piano, great singer. And this guy Twitty were in a band, and we were playing in Long Island and stuff. I think we were 18, 19 years old at the time when I wasn't in school anymore. And Stephen was playing the drums back then. But he wanted to go out in the front. He wanted to be the front man. He wanted. Everybody said, "You look like Mick Jagger, man. What do you look like?" He did, because he had the big lips and the whole bit, man. And Jagger. But so he goes, "I want to be up front. I can't express myself. I'm sitting behind a bunch of drums over here, and I'm doing okay." He was a really great drummer, but he wanted to get out there. So Don, being a practical guy, man, then we have to pay another guy. Even without worried about the money. I want to get out there. What happened was Don, you remember the band, the Doors, the guy Ray,
Jim Morrison.
The bass box, he played with his left hand. Don played the bass box too. So we had a 5-piece band, but there's only 4 of us. Because he played the bass box and the keyboards, and I played rhythm guitar, and Twitty played lead guitar, and Stephen was on the drums. So the idea was that we get another drummer in there so Stephen can be the front man. And Don didn't want to do that, so they had this huge argument. And at the time, I was my girlfriend, who was now my ex-wife, and her father had some place up in this place called Lenox, Massachusetts, where he would have his summer. They would do. He was like in the art business. He would sell pictures and photographs and stuff like that. So we'd rent a place in the summer. So me and my girlfriend at the time went to the movie to see this movie, Alice's Restaurant. Okay, you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Okay, and it was up in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. So we're watching a movie, and I said, "Hey, man, let's move there." So we decided to move to Stockbridge, because back then that's what we did. We're talking about the '60s here, man. Right. We're smoking reefer, taking pills. Yeah, let's move to Stockbridge.
Sounds like a good idea.
Right. Exactly.
So we move up to Stockbridge, and I'm making leather, man. I'm making leather goods at the time. My wife was a seamstress. My girlfriend was a seamstress. So we're making leather goods and we're selling it to this place in White Plains, New York. And they're saying, well, listen, man, if we got to sell it for 20, you got to sell it to us for 10. I said, wait a second, how are we gonna make any money? It's costing me $8 to make it. So I'm making $2 and you're making $10. This mathematics ain't really working in my favor over here. So I come up with this brilliant idea. I said, Susan, why don't we move to Boston and open our own store up there? And we'll do it like that. So she talks her father into giving us some money. And we go up there and we scout around. We find a place on Newbury Street. Newbury Street is like one of these fartsy streets up there that's just starting to happen, okay? And so we're back with Stephen now. I say, Stephen, listen, man, why don't we do this, man? I said, me and Susan, we're going to move up to Boston, in the autumn, man. We got a store up there. Why don't you go get that guy, Joe, you told me about? And we'll all meet in Boston and we can start the new band there. And that's how the whole thing happened, man.
Oh.
One night,
That is awesome.
one night, I say, hey, man, you know what? We're moving to Boston because we can't make any money selling leather, man. And this band really ain't happening. So if you're going to leave, why don't you just go get that guy Joe you told me about? And we'll go. And that's how the whole thing happened, man. Just like that, man.
Wow.
So I went up there. I got my store started. Me and my ex-wife were living in the store. Yeah, during the day we'd be working. At night we'd pull the shades down, pull out some sleeping bag, and we're sleeping on the floor. And Stephen came down with Joe, and Joe only wanted to do it with him and Stephen, and they wanted to get a drummer to do a 3-piece thing. And Stephen said, no, Raymond's part of the band. So Joe goes, well, if you're bringing Raymond, I'm bringing Tom. Tom was the bass player in his band, and so those 3 guys came down from New Hampshire. I was already in Boston. And that's how we started the thing. And Joe's mother, Mary, God rest her loving soul, she was just a nice person. She was a phys ed teacher out in a place called Hopkinton. You know when I had the Boston Marathon? You ever hear the Boston Marathon where they run 26 miles? Okay,
Yeah.
Boston Marathon starts in Hopkinton, Mass. And they run all the way down to what do you call, man, to Faneuil Hall, to this thing called the Stone. There's a stone in the middle of Faneuil Hall, and that was like the measuring point back in the old days. And everything was measured from that stone, and that was the center of Boston. That's what the marathon too. But Joe Perry's from that town. He's from that town, that town Hopkinton, and his mom knew somebody in the education field at Boston University, and they gave us a storage room to use to rehearse in.
Wow.
And that's how we started the whole thing. So meanwhile, I'm sitting in my shop, we're banging out leather goods, I'm making no money, man. The Koreans show up with that patchwork leather shit. All of a sudden, they just drove us out of business, man.
Wow.
They just drove us out of business. So we're scratching along, man. We're trying to make some money. So we're in the store one day, and all of a sudden, Joey Kramer, the drummer from Aerosmith, the drummer that's in the band, walking in the store. And I knew this kid because when I was in high school with that band I told you about, the Rolling Stones type of band, Henry Schneiderman, the guitar player, his brother Barry had another band. He was like 2 years younger than Henry, had a band called the King Bees, and Joey was the drummer in that band. So I knew of him, you know what I'm saying? And I had seen him around. I really didn't know him, I seen him around. So he come walking into the store. You know how like some little shit in your life you never forget. He came walking into my store with a pack of Camel cigarettes. I said, "What's that for?" He goes, "Oh, I bought you a pack of cigarettes." Okay. Said,
all right.
So what are you doing here? Because they out of the blue. I mean, I'm 225 miles from Yonkers. Haven't seen the kid, since we were like 14, 15 years old. I'm up here in Berkeley. I'm studying jazz. At Berkeley School of Music up here in Boston. He goes, and I heard that you're putting a band together with Steve. I don't know how he heard it, or how he made the connection. And I said, so what's the skinny? What do you want to do? He goes, well, can you get me an audition? I said, absolutely. So I talked to Stephen about it. And then I got back to Joey. I think back then when you get to use payphones. There was no cell phones back then, So I called him up and told him where we were. He came down to the rehearsal room, and he was the only one that auditioned. There was nobody else.
Oh, wow.
I only gave okay, you're it. That's how the band started, man. That's how the whole thing started, man. Wow, it was like one of those things, man. It just started like that. And Tom's sister, Sue, had got us some gigs at her high school, and We got some gigs in New Hampshire, and there was this place in New Hampshire called in the Barn. It's right up. It was a couple of miles away from where his father had that place in the summer, and during the summer, that's all. They would have bands up there. We played there a couple of times. A lot of guys played up there. So we really didn't have much. There really wasn't a lot going on. Nobody had any money. I had some money because I had a leather shop, and I was doing a little something on the side to make a few dollars here and there, make ends meet. But there was really nothing happening. So we got a couple of gigs here and got a couple of gigs there, and everybody was like smoking pot, taking pills, fucking drinking Boone's Farm apple wine, and
not Boone's Farm.
Everybody getting hurt.
What's
So,
the
like,
word? What's the word? Thunderbird. What's the price? Quarter twice. You know what I'm saying? Just clowning around, But I tell you something, Steven and Joe. See me. Listen. I had a used motorcycle at the time, man. A chopper. I had a whole shit. You know what I'm saying? I was always into fashion. I was making my own stuff, man. I designed all my clothing around what do you call the Plains Indian tribes, the Sioux, Ricky, like that. So it was a lot of bees and flowing robes and shit. Like, that's what I lived in California for a long time, back and forth. I bounced around a lot when I was younger. But so I had some money and stuff was going on with me. I really wasn't committed like they were. These guys, Steven and Joe, and I don't know if it was like a delusion or a vision or whatever you want to call it, man. They already knew where they wanted to be, and they sat around all the time figuring out how can I get from point A to point B, which will lead me to point C, which will lead me to point D, which will bring me to where I want to be, man. And I really wasn't paying attention. It was just like I was part of the whole sex and drugs and rock and roll scene. That was my thing. I was going, just having fun. I wasn't committed to it. And so when they decided that they wanted to really get into it, I said, I really don't really care that much, man. I sold my shop. Somebody lent me a Volkswagen bus that had a big smile painted on the front of it, and had the thing where the roof popped up and the bed came out. And so me and my girlfriend, let's go to Mexico. We drove down to Mexico for a couple of months, man. You know what I'm saying? This is what it was like back then, man. I'm talking about 1969, 1970, 1971. This is what it was like back then, man. This is what people did, man. And then we decided to move up to Maine, and we bought us and two other families. We bought like 37 acres in Maine, up by Belfast, Maine. And we went up there with a school bus, a teepee, an actual teepee, and a construction shanty. And we started growing string beans and marijuana. That's what we did, man.
What a combination. Great combo.
Great combo.
You gotta eat something to get high.
I was saying, you got food right there.
You supply your own demand, man.
But that's what was happening, man. That's what was happening. You know what I'm saying? And then after 2 winters, Stephen called me up. This fellow, Frank Conley, who was a local guy in Boston. In New York, it's the Italians that run the whole scene, and in Boston, it's the Irish that run the whole scene. This guy Frank Conley was tied into that whole thing, and he took a liking to them because that's what was going on back then. People were looking for bands. They were looking to get involved in the music scene because the music scene was popping. You know what I'm saying? Bands, and everybody's signing everybody. Record companies were just picking anybody up, man, putting albums out, man, throwing them on the road, making selling hundreds of thousands of albums. So this guy Frank Conley, he saw Steven, and he's like a star. He's like, they see it. He's like an unpolished diamond, and they see the whole band and stuff. And this guy Frank Conley put a little weight behind him. You know what I'm saying? He gave him a place to rehearse. The people that own the clubs, he explained to them that this band is going to be playing in your club now. You know what I'm saying? Not like you had to go look, knocking on doors. Oh, please give me a job. We'll play for free. They had a mentor, and this guy Frank Conley had a lot to do with that. If you read Joe Perry's book, he's had all the people that wrote the books from the band. He's the only one that really honored this guy, and this guy had a lot to do with that. So what happened was when they started to get like that, Stephen got lonely because I was his oldest friend and his closest friend, since we were children, and we made sure we were like 13 years old. So now we're not 20s and something. And he called me up and said, "I want you to come back and hang out with us, man. Again, we'll give you a job." Not to play anymore. They had Brad, who was a better musician than me at the time, and I like it up here. Okay. That was the first winter. The second winter, I didn't like it that much anymore. It was so steep that we had to park our cars in the bottom and drive snowmobiles to get up to the top because the town didn't plow the dirt road that we lived on, man. So it was fun. It was fun. It was fun the first winter. Second winter, not so much. That was the expression. It got old quick.
Yeah.
Real fast.
It got old real fast. And then Stephen called me up and he called my mother up. My mother said, Stephen wants to talk to you and blah, blah. So I called him back and from payphone, collect. And he said, come on back. We're going to get you. We got signed. We put an album out. We put an album out, blah, blah. We're going to put another one out, come back. So I went back to Boston and I got an apartment and I started hanging out with them. My job was my first job with the band was I hung out with them. You know, I traveled with the band and
cool.
So I didn't travel with the crew. I traveled with the band. You know, so naturally the crew got like jealous. Who the fuck is this guy? You know, we're working for years. All of a sudden, this fucking guy shows up. Now he's traveling with the band. So Stephen goes, Ray, you got to work. You got to do something. I said, what do you want me to do? He goes, like, here we go. He goes, well, what? Can you run the backstage? I said, okay. So I started running the backstage. My family, my mom, my wife, my ex-wife's mother, they were all really great cooks. We lived with a chef for a long time, one of these guys that lived with us and stuff. So I always knew a lot about food. As a matter of fact, I just finished a 27-year career in the food industry. I'm a classically trained French chef, actually.
Nice. That's awesome.
I went to school back in 1989, got my degree from the French Culinary Institute, and I started business. And I ran for 27 years. But
amazing.
Hey, congrats, man.
But back then, you know, this is like took over the backstage area and worked with all the caterers and stuff and Disney Center and everything. Also, I was a comic book crazy guy. Okay.
What? Okay.
Yeah, I love comic books, man. Especially Marvel comic books. It was also so because they did all this weird perspectives. You know what I'm saying? You know, it wasn't 2-dimensional. It wasn't even 3-dimensional. It was like 4-dimensional. You know, so I talked to band. I said, they had this like, stupid logo, and I said, "What the hell is that?" They said, "That's a flying." I said, "Come on, man." I said, "We got to do something about this." I said, "Let me take this over. I'm going to do something for you." So I hired an artist. I'm a thinker. I'm an idea guy. I'm not really good. I know how to do mechanical crafting. I can read blueprints and all that. When I went to when I was in high school, blah, 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 blah. But I had a guy that was really good with the drawing stuff. And I came up with that with the Aerosmith logo and talked to the band. I said, listen, I'm gonna buy 100 shirts and we're gonna see how this works. I went out and bought 100 shirts because I had a little money because I had my business and blah, blah, blah. And I bought 100 shirts, and we sold them right away at the concert. It was with the New York Dolls. We were playing with New York Dolls. A place called Westwood Racetrack out in Western Massachusetts. And when we went on stage, all these guys were out and the girls were out in New Orleans wearing the T-shirts, man. I was like a proud father. You know what I'm saying? Look at my children wearing my clothes. Right? You know what I'm saying? But the band really got off on it, man. And that's how the whole merchandise business started. Wow. That's how we started merchandise.
Wow.
That's awesome, man.
That's real cool.
How we started the merchandise business, man. And then what happened was, as it grew, I taught, the band, when I first came back to the band, they didn't have a place where they rehearsed or something. They would rent places. Their equipment was in a truck that they would move around. And one day the truck disappeared and the equipment got stolen. So I went down to the managers in Manhattan, and I'm this guy from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? I graduated high school, 44th in my class. I just found my diploma today. I was looking for some stuff. 44th in my class out of 249 people. I'm not the brightest guy in the world, man, but I've got really good ideas. Okay. I went down and taught these guys in 1973 to give me $40,000. These guys didn't even know me. These two Jewish, booking agents that turned out to be Aerosmith managers. Okay, took a chance. Like, give me 40 grand. I'm going to build a rehearsal studio for this guy. Because when I was up in Maine, I built my own house. You know what I'm saying? With some guy that learned how to, I built my own house up in Maine. And nice. So what happened was that they gave me the money and we put this thing together. We called it the Warehouse. Okay, but it was WHER. Where's the house? Because it was a big secret.
I like that.
Where's the house, man? Where's the house? Nice. So now we got a rehearsal facility. We got a place to store our stuff. So there used to be this guy named Al Hirschfeld Okay, he was an artist. He did all that line drawing. He would draw cartoon characters of people. He did a lot of stuff back in the 70s, you know, with when we had the TV guides and magazines and stuff like that, before the internet. And he did the album cover of the Aerosmith Draw the Line album in the cartoon.
Wow.
So what I did was I went down and I talked to Columbia Records and I talked them into letting me put a flyer. We were the first band ever in the United States to put a flyer inside an album. So I had a flyer inside the album so you could buy a t-shirt.
Wow.
As a matter of fact,
Hey.
I might have it right here somewhere. You could buy a t-shirt that looks just like the album cover, okay? And you can I also had a, what do you call it? I also had I don't think I have it with me here. I decided we're gonna have a fan club, okay? We're gonna call it Aero Knows. So if you want to know anything about Aerosmith, you ask Aero because I was Aero.
Oh wow! So you were in their fan club too.
We put the insert in the album.
Mm-hmm.
1 month we had 5 or 6 people that would, you know, write into us. 3 months later, 60,000 people.
Mm.
We had 60,000 people
Wow.
on our mailing list, man. So we went from rags to riches with this merchandise. It just took off, man. It just took off, man. So you know, I had a guy from one of my friends who was my first best man when I was in Yonkers. My first wife, he was my best man. This guy Seth Goldman, great artist. I talked him into moving up to Boston. And back then, with no computers and shit, everything was, you know, cut and paste. So we had to cut and paste everything. So we started out with, you know, with a 3-sheet rag stapled together. The next one was like fold up, and it got better and better. And we were doing really well with the fan club. The mail order business was booming. I had to hire 2 people to work in the warehouse with me just to handle all the stuff that was happening. We were doing great. Everything was happening. The band was doing great. You know, everybody was like high as fucking kites. Nobody knew what was going on. It was like stupid. It was just like stupid, man. You know, we would go on a tour. It was just like a freaking party all the time, man.
All the time, I bet. Hey.
24/7, man, 365.
There you go.
Every day, man, every day. But it catches up with you, man. It catches up with you, and it starts spilling out into your life. You know what I'm saying? It spills out into your life, into your relationships. You know, and you don't think it at the time because at the time when you're with a lot of people. I'm sober since 1998. Okay.
Hey.
Wow,
I have
that's
not
awesome.
had a drink since last century. Okay.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Back then, okay, when you're surrounded with people that are doing the same thing,
Yeah.
it don't feel so bad.
Yeah.
You
Everybody's
remove
doing it.
yourself from those people and go around people that aren't like that, and you look back and you go, what the fuck was I thinking? And then when you review the whole sequence of events, it dawns on you that, you know what, I wasn't thinking. You know, something else was thinking for me. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so that's what was going on back there. And after a while, the whole thing just crumbled. The whole thing just crumbled again. You know, I crumbled and I left, and then the band crumbled, and you know, and I moved back down. I came down crying back to my mom. I got divorced. My wife told me she didn't love me anymore. And you ever look into you ever see movies with sharks? And you look in
With
their
sharks?
eyes, it looks like there's like nothing there.
There's nothing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my first wife came to me one night. She looked at me just like that. And she said, "I don't love you anymore." There was nothing there, man. There was nothing
Oh,
there.
man.
Just like over, man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
She was my high school sweetheart. Yeah, yeah. I did a nickel and a dime with her, man. Back down in New York, bounced around for a bunch of years. I finally got myself cleaned up, and I went to school. I went to the French culinary.
Wow.
Got my degree. I went into the hotels. You know, I was doing real well. I was a banquet chef. You know, doing large numbers. I worked at some of the best hotels. I worked at the Regal. I worked at the Stanhope. I worked at the Mark Hotel, which is exclusive to the hotel. I worked at a bunch of really nice hotels down there for a long, long time. And then I met a woman, and I got remarried and bought a house up here in Yonkers. And when we got married, listen to this. It's so funny because God works in mysterious ways. He really does. It's funny.
Yeah.
It really is funny because what happened was when we were doing our weddings thing, I wanted to buy myself a new stove because I'm a chef now. I want the mofo, you know, Rolls Royce of stoves, man. I want a Viking stove, man. I want this killer ass stove, man. So I had to. So the stoves they offered us in the what do you call it? In the offering with the house, they were like electric stoves. I said, "Oh, I want a gas stove." So I had to put a gas line in the whole thing. So I'm in the sales office one day, telling me, "Yeah, I want this gas line. I want you to put a vent up top, man, because this stove was like a badass stove." And they said, "Why do you need all that?" I said, "Well, I just got married for the second time. My wife's first marriage, and I'm a chef. And when the guy says to me, he goes, "Well, you're a chef." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "How would you like to do our grand opening for us?"
Oh.
This is a 150 home project where I live. I said, "Okay, I'll do that for you." So I did his grand opening for it. I wound up working for the guy for 18 years.
Wow.
I did every one of his properties, man. He had like 47 properties all over the East Coast, man. So like, so I left the hotels. I said, "Man, what do I need this for?" I worked my ass off in this hotel for a month. I got to go down to New York. I got to get up for 3 days a week. I would work the overnight shift. I go down 10 o'clock at night and work till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Okay, and come home, and then 2 days a week I do that, and then 3 days a week I have to drive down there in the morning, find a parking space, get the thing, work all day, drive back home. Then I was taking the subway and all this stuff. I make more money with one gig with this guy than I would make it 3 weeks at my job. I'm so going like, let me see here. 1 week this guy, 3 weeks this guy.
Kind of a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, man. I quit my job and I took a shot, and it wound up working for me. Wound up working out for me, man.
That's awesome.
But what happened was though, about 8 years into it, or 6 years into it, all of a sudden there was like something missing. Something was missing, man. So one day I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, all of a sudden, the light comes on. Comes shining down on me and says, "Play music." The music, that's what's missing, man. The music is missing. So I decided I was going to start playing again. This is in 94. I just got married and start playing again. So I was thinking, I went to when I moved back down here, this kid that lived down a block from Stephen, who was my brother's age. My brother's 2 years younger than me. He was my brother's age, and they were friends in high school. And that's how I met this kid named Lou Moreau, a great guitar player. When I first came back and I was still bumming around, I had been working up in Boston and running studios up there while I was bouncing around. And I started managing this guy's band, booking this guy's band and managing this guy's band. And then when I got myself cleaned up and I went and started got married, got a house, blah, blah, blah. And I started to do this. I looked them up. I said, "Lou, I want to start playing again. I want to form a band." So what happened was, when I was about 15 years old, Stephen came over to my house to sleep at my house one night. And we decided we were going to sneak out and go watch this guy, this friend of ours, who used to on Saturday night, he would go into the bowling alley. His kid was like 16 years old. He was like a really great bowler. He would beat all these guys all the time. So we would go down there and we'd bet like 50 cents and $1. But we'd have to hit it. They didn't start till 11 o'clock at night. It was like, so we're sitting in my room and we tie a rope and we're climbing out the window. So we get down to the bottom of it. They were making a ton of noise. All of a sudden my mother sticks her head out the window. She goes, "Are you crazy, Raymond?" I said, "That's a great name for a band, Crazy Raymond." So Lou goes, "We can't call the band Crazy Raymond." I said, "You're right. It has to be and the somethings. Crazy Raymond and the somethings." So I go to the movies and Joe Pesci is in this movie and he plays his vigilante out in California, in Los Angeles. Okay. And he's going after the bad guys and cleaning up the town and stuff. And he's always like almost getting shot and stabbed and wrecking cars and stuff. And so one of his friends says to him, he goes, "Hey, Joe, what are you doing this for, man? You don't got to do this." He goes, "Hey, somebody's got to be the watchdog." I said, "Wow, man, that's a great name, man. Crazy Raymond and the Watch." That's how it all started again back in 94, man. So that's how it started. So if you go to my website, crazyraymond.net, you can see all the stuff I did. I put out 2 albums since then, 4 or 5 singles. And like I said, I got my British Invasion show. So I started playing music again. And I said, now when I was a kid, when we were 15, 16, 18 years old, they would pay us to play. Now all of a sudden it's the 90s. They want you to bring people with you, and you got to pay them to play. You got if you don't bring 50 people, you don't get anything. And blah 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 blah. You got to guarantee us X amount of stuff. So I did that for a bunch of years, and I said, "This is bullshit. I can't do this, man." So so the band broke up, and I recorded an album. It's called 5, And I put out, it's this EP. I put that out in 90, I think 96 or 97. Then I said, you know what? I do want to play again. So I said, okay, so we're going to come up with a new idea. We're going to go to Plan B. Crazy Raymond and the Plan B band, okay? Because Crazy Raymond and the Watchdog didn't work. So we're going with Plan B over here now, man. Put another band together, right? The Plan B band, man. That didn't work. that didn't work either, man. So now a bunch of years go by, and I still got this bug. I want to play, man. I don't care how old I am.
Yeah.
I write a lot of stuff, man, and I got a good head for this stuff, man. So I put another band together, and this is the Third Step band, okay? Because this is the third incarnation. Crazy Raymond and the Watchdogs don't work, Plan B don't work. The Third Step band, this band is a good band. I got a good band now. It's a great band. And if you're familiar at all with 12-step programs, the third step is where we turn our life and our will over to this God of our understanding. Translation. Everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. Shut the fuck up and have a good time.
Definitely.
Hey.
Understandable.
Stop pissing and moaning and say thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's the deal right now, man. So I got a
That's
great
awesome.
band now, man. I'm retired. My mom's still alive. She's 98 years old. She's great.
That's awesome.
I got a beautiful, loving wife, man. My family's still around. My brother's still around. One of my brothers passed away. God rest his loving soul. My brother Tommy passed away a few years ago. But my other brother's still alive. And I play some music, man. I do, what do you call I raise money for disabled American veterans. I do 2 shows a year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome,
We
dude.
raise money for the vets. Now, I was never in the military because I was like one of these guys, down with war. You know, I was like back in the day. But I really wasn't even doing that. I was more like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like the
Like that.
70s, right?
So,
So what are you gonna do?
yeah, that's what's happening, man. So now I give back that way. I raise money for we raise
That's
money
good.
and we give them money for a transportation fund for the VA hospital in the Bronx. It's chapter 23 in the Bronx. Yeah, and the money goes into a transportation guys that need operations, and medical attention, gets them to and from the hospital facilities. So I do that twice a year for them. We do that. We raise money for them.
Wow, that's so cool. That's
And
awesome.
we did it. I usually do it like I'm doing it on Memorial Day weekend this year, and we do it on Veterans Day. Like last Veterans Day was on the 11th, so on the 12th and the 13th, we did 2 nights. We had a little small club. You brought 150 people, 125 people one night, and I think 97 people the next night. We raised $1,700 for the guys. The vets come over. We set up a museum, the Rolling Thunder Museum. You ever see the MIA guys with the black and white flag? They came in, they set a whole museum up, and people can come in and look at the museum, and they donate money, and the mayor shows up, and the councilmen come over, and the vets come up there in their uniforms, and they do the whole thing with the flag. It's great. It's great.
Awesome.
We do that twice a year. So I'm working on another album right now. And I also play with a couple of Aerosmith tribute bands.
That's awesome.
There's one premier band, they're called Draw the Line, and they're from Boston, Massachusetts. And you can go on Facebook and find them also. And I do a lot of work with them. And as a matter of fact, when they opened up the Aerosmith roller coaster in Orlando at Disney World, the band couldn't make it. They were on tour. So they sent Draw the Line to do the opening for them.
Oh, wow.
There's an actual tie-in there. Neil looks exactly like Steven. And Neil's been doing this.
I've seen it, yeah.
Neil's been doing this for 30 years. So what I do is I sit in with them. I do shows. As a matter of fact, I will be in Atlantic City on Friday, March 4th at the Golden Nugget with them. And then Saturday, I will be in a place called Vineland, New Jersey at the Landis-Sphere. I'll be sitting in with them. So I come up and I do a couple of songs with them, stuff that I play with Aerosmith, So, there's a whole little thing there going on with that. So I get to play with that. I go in front of them. It's fun.
That's awesome.
I get a hotel room. They give me some food. I go up there for 15 minutes like I'm a rock star. Yeah. Then I come home. I throw the garbage out. Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm definitely happy for you. That's
the first thing I told you, man, is like I'm a blessed individual, man. My life, man, and the stuff that I've experienced and the people I've met in my life, man, it's like amazing. I got to tell you, there's no complaints, man. I get up every morning and I do the same thing every morning. Go outside, I breathe in a new day. and I give thanks. I'm a lucky guy.
That's awesome.
You know, so many of my friends, and I'm going to tell you this, my young brothers, because you got to be careful, man. So many of my friends are not around anymore.
Wow.
They thought they could game the system. You know what happened? They died.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I almost did that to myself a couple of times too, man. But for some reason, the good Lord wants me to be around. So here I am. You know what I'm saying? Talking to you guys, man, having a good time. Anybody want to ask me anything?
I just wanted to start off by saying thank you so much for telling us your story.
Yeah.
It truly is amazing.
Yeah.
I had 3 lives, man. This is my 3rd one, man. Okay, my first one was my whole high school thing with the bands and all that crazy stuff with Aerosmith and stuff. And then my second life was that whole thing with, you know, getting clean and going into the cooking thing and all that stuff. And now I got a new wife and a new house. We didn't get her a long time. We've been at 25 years already, 26
Awesome.
years. You know, it's a whole new thing now. You know, when I'm retired now, I get to travel a little bit. I got a place in Florida. I got friends all over the world. You know, and I got a little notoriety. I get to do TV shows. I did the Kickers. I did what do you call it?
Yep.
Biography.
Yep.
You know, I did what do you call it? I did Reels. I did Porn Stars. I did A&E. I did MTV. You know, I get to do all this crazy stuff. You know, I've been on Howard Stern and this show or that show. I'm here with you guys now, man. You know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna go downstairs.
Hey, we appreciate it.
After we finish, I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna have a little dessert with my wife. You know, a little hot chocolate, maybe a donut or something. I don't know, man. We'll see what's in the refrigerator. And then I'll go to bed and I'll get out and I'll thank the good Lord, man, for another great day. And I get up tomorrow, start all over again, man.
Hey,
That's what's happening, brothers. All right.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I gotta know though. What is your favorite dish? What is the Raymond Tabano dish? What is it?
Like tonight. I eat really well. First of all, okay. I eat a lot of fish. Okay, I eat a lot of green stuff, man. Like last night, man, I had some nice grouper. Just pan fried it a little bit, finished it in the oven, man. Made some yellow rice with that, man. Some broccolini. Had a beautiful tonight. We had a nice, beautiful 3 kinds of tomato salad, man. You know what I'm saying? I eat really well, man. I eat Italian food. I like Pacific Rim food. Watashi wa nihongo skoshi dokimasu. I can speak Japanese. I know how to cook Oriental food.
All right.
You say, I read a lot. I read a lot, man. I'm well read, you know. A completely different 30 years, a completely different person. And I got some tragedy in my life. My son doesn't speak to me. I have a grandson that I'm not allowed to know. This is some pain in my life. It's some residual effects of me not, you know, doing the right thing at the right time, man. Okay. Yeah. And I can't blame anybody but myself, man, because I'm not a victim, man. I was a volunteer. You see, even though there were forces that were stronger than me at the time directing me, man. Again, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, and that's the end of the story with me. And there's a peace in that. If you can accept that, there's a peace in that. So you're not fighting all the time. You know what I'm saying? You know, what you're doing is the worst you got to do is you got to adjust a little bit, compromise a little bit, re-strategize a little bit before you make the next move, man.
Yeah.
You know, and as long as you're pure, as long as the motives, okay, behind all the operations, man, okay, the universe will be good to you, man. Because I believe that. I mean, the whole thing with karma. I talked to Stephen Tower about it. What happened was about 2 weeks ago, I got an email from a friend of mine, a text from a friend of mine that lives in Tampa. And this guy's a really nice guy. He's tied into the music scene. He's helped me a lot. He did a couple of singles for me. He did covers for me. Helped me with some media stuff. He's a really good guy. He sent me a picture of this guy, Stephen Tyler, and this guy, George Shack. George Shack was one of our sound guys back in the 70s. And I had seen George about 4 or 5 years ago. I was with Draw the Line up at the Mohegan Sun, you know, doing a show with them at the casino, which I love to do because I get a free room, I get to play poker, free food. I go on stage, yeah, look at me, man. You know? And George was there. And I said, hey, George, how you doing? I haven't seen him in 20 years. And he says, oh, I'm doing good, man. I just got beat cancer and I'm okay now, and blah, blah, blah. But he sent me a thing he said, George Jack passed away. And it was a picture of him and Steven there. So I forwarded it to Steven. And 5 minutes later, my phone rang. He goes, oh man, I can't believe George is gone. Because George is a good guy. I mean, we all love him. But I had a long talk with Steven. We were goofing about stuff, from back when, before this whole thing happened. Because I'm still, let me tell you something. I know this guy, my whole life, And I look at him, and and he's my friend, so I can carry on with him and say anything to him in front of anybody. I don't give a shit. His bodyguard's gonna come and get me, man. But I still look at him like the star that he actually is. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Understandable.
he is a star. I mean, look who he is. Look where we came from.
Oh,
And
yeah.
everybody knows who he is. Look what he's done. He's sold 150 million albums. I can't get fucking arrested. You know what I'm saying? I can't get arrested. This guy who I started a band with sold 150 million albums. You know what I'm saying? So I have to accept what the whole thing is going on. So I had a long talk with the guy about what was going on with stuff, and it's all good. And I look back and I try to say, why did I do this and why did I do that, man? I said, this is because this is the way it was inscribed, man. That's my destiny, man. But I'm happy. I'm content, man. I got to tell you, man, of course, I want to be a little more successful. Like I said, I'm putting a new album out that I've been working on for the last 3 years. I'm trying to get, the band. We're going in for a video shoot in about 3-4 weeks. Everything has to be an electronic package now. You know what I'm saying? And they're doing all these shows all over, all these bands. There's all these cover bands, Led Zeppelin 2, the Journey band. There's a band for everybody. So but my show is not an actual band. It's more of a time period, because between 1964 and 1967, the British invasion happened. Okay. About 40 bands from England came over to our country, and they just inundated the music scene with videos and movies and top 10 hits. So we do 19 different bands in an hour and a half. We do 19 bands. And what we did is this is really cool, because what we did is we downloaded all the videos on YouTube from all the shows back then and from all the different bands. So while we're playing the Beatles things, right behind me on our screen is the Beatles playing the same song.
That's pretty cool.
You get to see them performing it and us playing it. And the cool thing about it is all those songs that moved me when I was young, when I was your age, that moved me to do this whole thing, I'm up there singing them now, man.
Don't get too much better than that. Yeah, that's awesome.
That, man. I'm up there singing them now, man, playing them now, man. I got great musicians behind me. The guy that does my musical director, the keyboard guy, Nick Sywick. This guy's so cool. He's got no vowels in his name. There's no vowels in his name. S-Y-K-Y-A. He was my wife's piano teacher. The guy's fantastic, and his girlfriend, Diane Montaro. She's my singer. Our voices work really well together. And I got the guitar player in my band. It's funny how the world is so small.
It is.
You think it's big? It's fucking tiny, man. Everybody's connected. My guitar player was Steven Tyler's first manager's father.
Oh, wow.
Wow, everybody's connected for real.
Small world.
And here's what happened. There used to be a supermarket on Central Avenue called Finest. So when Steve was about 15 years old, he goes in there and is like stealing bananas or something, and the guy catches him. And he's the manager of the store. And they start talking. And Steven tells him, about the music and stuff. Because we had long hair, we're wearing Beatle boots. And the guy says, "Can I be your manager?" And he quits his job.
Wow.
He comes, as a matter of fact, the guy in my band, Pete Augusta, he showed me a copy of the contract that Steven's father had to sign, because Steven was a minor. He was only 17 when the father had to sign the contract. His first band, The Strangers, man. So he's in my band. He's great. I got a great bass player, has a really high voice. He sings all the high parts. The drummer's a long-haired guy. To play all these great bands. We do the Beatles and the Stones and the Who, and we do a couple of pop guys. The girl sings Lulu. She sings Petula Clark. We do them. We do the Yardbirds. We do Moody Blues. We do the Zombies. We do Procol Harum. I do all these the Animals, the Kinks. We do everybody. Yeah. We do all the British invasion bands, and then we put the video behind. It's a great show. It's a great show. And I've been trying to sell it for years. I'm having a little hard time with it because, again, it's not a tribute band. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants tribute bands. Like, that's what's going on right now. But I'm going to keep on kicking, man, because I got the music inside of my head, man, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop with it, man. So tell me, let me see. I want to see them. So who am I talking to here? I got Marcus up on the right here. I got Joshua down in the woods, man, with the fog behind him. Chad. and,
Yep.
and Demetrius. Okay.
Yeah.
Who put this whole thing together? You did, Chad? You didn't want to put this together?
Oh, the podcast in general? Yeah. It's really Dmitri wrangled all of us together. I'll be honest. Like he put the bug in my ear to put the podcast together. And from there, it was me, him, and Joshua.
He looks like the intellectual type, man. You're not so much.
I think it's just the background. I think it's just
No, don't steal that from me. Let me have this moment, all right? Just don't take that from me, all right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much how it was. And from there, Marcus was actually like, all of us are like friends from college. Of course, Josh was my brother, and me and Marcus were talking about doing a podcast for a while too, because he's huge in cinema, film, and all that kind of stuff. And he was actually our first ever podcast guest, because we did the podcast before he came along, and we liked him so much, like it was just like this. So we kept him as the fourth member of the podcast. So.
Oh, man, good. Yeah, that's how it works sometimes, man. The things just happen. Sometimes the way the universe operates is that things fall together easier than when you try to put them together, man.
Oh yeah, seriously.
Oh yeah.
You try to force shit, and it tends to evade you.
Yes.
It's like tries to run away from you. Whereas if you sit still, it will come to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
seriously.
my philosophy now, man. So, but the thing is, I've been sitting still so long. I'm getting old, man. I don't know how much longer I can sit still here. You know what I'm saying? I might be lying still pretty soon, man.
No, we definitely understand. I get it. I just want to thank you so much, because you a lot of detail, and me and just a little background, about me and Joshua, and then about your love for rock and roll and stuff like that, and how it affects us. Usually on the radio, we wouldn't hear stuff like Aerosmith and all the older bands and all that kind of stuff. But thanks to video games, like me and Joshua had a game called Guitar Hero, and there was Guitar Hero Aerosmith, and that's our favorite video game of all time. Basically.
Yeah.
and that's how we.
What's it called?
There's a game called Guitar Hero Aerosmith, and that's how we learned about Aerosmith. Yeah, and that's where we learned all the songs, and I've been a huge fan ever since, and that's where that comes from.
Well, tell you something, though, man. I think you got to thank the man, the Run DMC brothers, because they're the guys that put them back on the map again.
Wow. I didn't even think about it like that.
That whole coalition with that thing.
Yeah, Walk This Way.
Yeah. 2 hours out, they were doing okay, but nothing was going nowhere. They joined forces with those boys, and all of a sudden, man, the thing just exploded.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it also brought the band into their community also. Both the people got this view. That video too. You got to watch that video.
I love it. It's amazing.
That video, they break down the wall.
Yeah.
They break down the wall between the black and the white, man. That's big, man.
Yeah, that's
I
huge.
mean, that's so spiritual. It's like crazy. You got to really look at that thing, man. And that matter of fact, in that first video, Steven's wife is in the front row too, and so is his daughter. Liv Tyler's in the front row. Alicia Stone, I forgot her name. But Steven's wife's in the front row of that too. Yeah. He's not married to his ex-wife. His ex-wife Teresa. I love her. Good girl. Anyway, boys, I'm going to get out of here. Spread the love. Tell people about my website, about my British ingredients.
Oh, sure will, man.
Yeah, definitely. And one more thing.
All right.
One more thing, Mr. Tabano. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I practiced drawing the Aerosmith logo, because I love the logo.
The logo, actually, what the logo is, okay, it's a combination of the Harley Davidson wings. Okay. Harley Davidson wings. And there was a guy that did a lot of Grateful Dead album covers. I forgot his name, but he did a lot of 3D stuff. And originally the A was supposed to be a sphere, but I couldn't get anybody to really draw it the right way. Okay, it was supposed to be a sphere with the connections, with the connection points on it, so everything was the perfect triangle inside a circle. That's what it was. And then we added the star about a year later inside of the A because they were stars.
That's awesome.
Hey.
That's awesome.
All right,
That's
guys.
Awesome.
God bless you, man. Behave yourselves, and if you can't do that, don't get caught. All right.
Hey, that's what I'm talking
Hey.
All right, Mr. Savano, you definitely have a good night.
You
Thank
can
you
call
so
me.
much for
You
joining
can call me
us.
Raymond. It's okay, man.
All right, Raymond.
All right, Raymond.
God bless, man.
All right, have a good night. All right, guys. And of course, y'all, that has been the Score Roundtable podcast, man. That's just how we do, man. Had a legend on the show tonight.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy, man. But as just like every other week, guys, if you want to catch this podcast and our other amazing podcasts, you can go to our website. And that website is scoreroundtablepod@fandomlim.com. And one more time, guys, that is scoreroundtablepod@fandomlim.com. .fandomlim.com. My bad, guys.
I was like, wait a minute.
It happens. It happens.
Fandomlim. It's late. We done worked. I done been working all day.
You gonna send them to a 404 code, man.
Yes, guys. Scoreroundtablepod.fandomlim.com. Go ahead, Demetrius.
And you can find us on YouTube if you don't get lost with the 404 code right there. But you can find us on YouTube.
Nobody asked you, bro.
If you like the video, smack that like button, leave a comment on anything. What is your favorite Aerosmith song? That would be a great thing in the comment section below. And when did you first get exposed to Aerosmith? I'll also share the video. That helped out a lot. Leave a comment. Obviously, leave a comment. Hit the notification bell next to the video, right side of the video, to get notified of this video and future videos. And join that pesky Facebook group. Put some music in there, man. Live it up a bit. It's very dead out there. We need a little bit of hype in there, a little wings, a little bit of everything. Okay.
Exactly.
And, follow us on our socials, or Instagram, or Twitter if you got one. Yeah, that's my piece. I'm good. I'm done. We did this thing.
Yeah, guys, just like Aerosmith and Run DMC, walk this way, man, over to our Facebook group.
There we go. Dang.
Good plug.
Y'all like that?
Good plug.
Thank you. I tried.
I'll let you have that one. You got that one, okay?
I tried, man. But yeah, guys, to end this night, man, to end this wonderful podcast, I would like everybody to introduce themselves one more time. And as always, I'm your host, Chad Singleton.
Dmitri?
I'm Josh. Hashtag yes, hashtag no.
I'm Marcus.
And we have been the Square Roundtable, guys. Peace out.
Peace.